Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this issue. Welcome to this troubleshooting video. All right, so let's talk about this. Now, I've come across these situations where a lot of people would say, they would ask this question or have the situation come up with a vehicle where they were changing out the spark plugs or doing something under the hood, changing something out, but they gotta take tubing off, they gotta take some ground cables off, they gotta take some stuff off, changing the alternator, the compressor, whatever have you, where they would have to take a lot of different things off just to get to it and change it out. And then when they put everything back together, they have this situation where A, they're getting either a no start, B, they're getting a crank no start, C, they're getting some situation where it cranks, it starts up and it dies out, or D, they changed they changed stuff up and they started getting misfires, or like they're changing misfires. It doesn't matter whether they changed the spark plugs, the coils, or cleaned the throttle body or whatever, but they took some stuff off just to get to whatever part that's that they need to get to, and then they put everything back together and they start having any of these issues. That comes up quite a bit. A lot of people have sent me questions about that. A lot of people have put out videos diagnosing these issues, like why does it happen? Why does it happen? Because if you swap out parts, why are you either getting issues, new issues, or you're getting bigger problems than you had before, a problem that you didn't have before? And we're gonna go through a diagnosis of how to fix this, how to fix this problem. And most of the time, it's a very, very simple thing that you need to do to get this problem fixed. All right, so we're gonna go down the list one by one. All right, so you took things apart and then you put everything back together. Doesn't matter what you took apart. Doesn't matter whether you took apart, doesn't matter whether you had to take lines off, ground wires off, tubing off, vacuum tubes, radiator hoses that goes to the throttle body. It doesn't really matter. All right, I'm going to tell you guys what the problem is. Okay, if you guys are getting a no start issue, where you guys have no power whatsoever after you put everything back together, and this didn't happen before, it had no problem starting before, it had no problem getting power before, what you guys want to do in that case, all right, you guys want to recheck all the wiring. A lot of times people, because there's like so much, a lot of these cars, particularly new cars, have so many plugs, wires, all these different sensors that go straight to the ECU. Now, if you took a ground wire off, it doesn't matter what's the main ground wire. Doesn't matter whether it's like a ground wire that connects the engine to the frame. It doesn't matter whether it's a ground wire, a small ground wire. If you guys take the ground wires off, you guys want to make sure to put the ground wires back on and then bolt it on, or put the nut on and make sure that it's tight. You want to make sure that it's clean, using a metal brush to clean the area, the connector, all that stuff. Because ground wires are very, very, very important to the working of the vehicle. All right, you could be, if a ground wire, if the main ground wire is not connected, you're going to get zero power. There's many ground wires, all right, in the engine bay. All right, if you miss like a couple of smaller ground wires, you might get issues with other issues like sensor issues, ECUs, lights on your dash, etc., etc. Crank no start, no crank no start. All right, very, very important that you go through, look at your engine bay, make sure that all the wires are connected. All right, That's the number one thing. All right. If you guys have no power, zero power whatsoever, and your battery's good, and you didn't have this issue before, make sure all your ground wires are connected. 99% of the time, that's the problem that's causing it. And also on top of that, you want to make sure that the lines to the battery, the positive and negative terminals to the battery, are clean, and you want to make sure that you tighten them up. All right. So that's if you get no power at all after you worked on your vehicle. All right. So next up is a crank no start issue. You guys have if you guys had no issue starting the car before, and then out of nowhere you guys get this problem after you put everything back together, crank no start, it cranks up. All right. So if you guys get that issue, you guys want to make sure that all the plugs are plugged in. All the plugs to the sensors, the MISFIRE sensor, the throttle body, the camshaft or crankshaft sensor, if you guys worked on around those areas, the plug to the ECU, any plugs that you guys took off, you want to make sure that those plugs are plugged in. Now, if you've worked on cars long enough, you kind of have a good feel for all the plugs you take off, all the plugs you've taken off, all the plugs, all the lines you've taken off. However, if you're not somebody who works on cars a lot, you work on cars every once in a while, you might miss a plug or maybe two. All right, and every plug counts. All right, you need to put all the plugs back together. Now, most of the time, these plugs are specific to a specific socket. The length of them is specific to a specific socket. Most of the times you can't miss it. Sometimes that might not be true. All right, particularly with older cars where they didn't actually go through designing those plugs to be different. You might plug one plug, cross plug one plug that's supposed to go to one socket, and then you plug it in a different socket, and you plug another one in a different socket. That happens every so often. All right, so if you guys have the crank no start, definitely make sure that the plugs are connected, that the plugs are snapped on, and that you did not pull any of the plugs, yank the wires out from the plug by mistake, so that there's a disconnection somewhere. All right, you guys want to make sure of that. Okay, that's for a crank no start. If you guys get this situation where you get a misfire, all right, and you didn't have a misfire before, if you guys get a misfire, you did not have a misfire before, or if you had a misfire for one cylinder and out of nowhere you have like a misfire after you put everything back together, you have a misfire for like a whole bunch of different cylinders, like random, which happens sometimes. You want to make sure that all the vacuum tubes, you want to make sure that all the vacuum tubes are connected. All right, there are a lot of vacuum tubes on the intake, on the throttle body, on the engine itself. You want to make sure that those vacuum tubes are connected. All right, that you didn't leave any of them out. Some of them are small, some of them are large, some of them are under the intake, some of them you miss out. Happens. All right, it happens. Particularly if you don't work on cars too much, it happens. Even if you work on cars, sometimes you'll be doing things in a hurry and you forget that one small vacuum tube that connects to the intake, and then you start having these issues where you have random misfires, and it's called a vacuum leak. A vacuum leak will cause random misfires. It'll make that situation so much worse than if you guys have one cylinder that you guys were trying to fix, and then out of nowhere you have this random misfire and your car runs really badly, and or if you have a vehicle that starts and then dies suddenly, that could be the case also, because you miss connecting a vacuum line back onto where it's supposed to go to. All right, so far we've done a no crack, no start, or no power, no crack, no start. We've done a crack, no start. We've done a vacuum leak. I feel like I'm leaving. What am I leaving out? If you're having some weird issues with as far as, you know, all the lights on your dash coming on, you have like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 codes coming on, and you have a no crack, no start issue, that's definitely maybe something that's connected to the ground wire, specifically from the tip-in. If there's one there, you know what, there might be one there for the tip-in, but normally the tip-in is directly connected to the ground wire of the battery, or you know, some tip-ins actually have a separate ground wire of its own connected to the frame, but that's also connected to what I said originally with the ground wire. If you miss a ground wire, it might not be the main ground wire, it might be a secondary or third ground wire. It could cause these issues where you have a no crack, no start, and then 10 different codes for 10 different things that has nothing to do with anything that didn't exist before. So anyway, those are essentially what you guys have to look for in these situations. And believe it or not, it comes up quite a bit. A lot of people have sent in questions for that. There are many videos out there for these kind of situations where people are scratching their head. Why is the situation worse? Why am I getting new issues, etc., after I fixed a certain issue? So if you guys have any of your own personal experience with this, definitely leave a comment in the comment section. It might help somebody else out. Please subscribe, please give me a thumbs up, all that good stuff. Right, guys, take care.